Welcome. You're watching the thrift store rundown's Odyssey to the Oscars, where we bring the Academy Awards home on a budget. The angels sing merrily on high today as we're about to salute the maestro of the gods, the one, the only, John Williams, 5-time Oscar winner and the most nominated person living today. And in doing so, we're also going to salute the filmmaker's filmmaker, the original, the OG, Steven Spielberg. If I said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times more every year I do this series. It is not a celebration of the Academy Awards around here without some mention, some feature of Steven Spielberg, and of course John Williams. And of course, their enduring, decades-long collaboration that's brought magic to the silver screen. Whether it's had us humming in silent melodic prayer for all the innocents lost in this case, or having us twirl our conductor's batons in delight over successfully trying to woo Catherine Zeta-Jones as a flight attendant at Kennedy Airport in this case. We have here Schindler's List and The Terminal. This being an Oscar winner, John Williams' 5th and final Oscar win to date, and The Terminal, for which he received no Oscar nomination. Both soundtracks were purchased for $1.49, 25% off here, 50% off here. We're going to start here, though, with Schindler's List. Why? Because, to paraphrase Steven Spielberg's Best Picture acceptance speech for Schindler's List, it's the best drink of water after the longest drought in his life. I would compare this drink of water to cold and flu medicine. It is so beyond rancid, yet so needed because it is so cleansing. And to say the very least, even though I've never watched Schindler's List, I have to say, the film itself is pretty cleansing to say the least. Not all the music is entirely original, and you'll read more about that by looking at the liner notes inside, the full track listing along with crew listing. The Hollywood Studio Symphony is performing along with members of the Boston Symphony Orchestra at Symphony Hall in Boston, accompanying Isaac Perlman on solo violin for a couple of tracks. These are Steven Spielberg's liner notes on the back. With dignity and compassion, John Williams has composed original and stunningly classical music for Schindler's List, and a collection of themes and orchestral remembrances that will haunt you. The choice he made was gentle simplicity. Most of our films together have acquired an almost operatic accompaniment, which is pretty for Indiana Jones, Close Encounters, or Jaws. Each of us had to depart from our characteristic styles and begin again. This is certainly an album to be attentive with closed eyes and unsequestered hearts. This was distributed by MCA Records, and playback went smooth. Not one hit to report on. We have here black and white stills from the film. Keep in mind the film itself was shot in near black and white, save for the girl in the red hat or red coat. An accidental homage or foretelling to Pretty Little Liars. Sorry to make that comparison. Anyway, crew listing here. More behind the scenes stills and a credit billing here. If you listen to the film out of context, well, you really will still make the connection to Schindler's List because the soundtrack is incredibly serviceable to the events playing on screen, which is so brutal and bloody, and yet so necessary for the authenticity of the film. Steven Spielberg said it himself, history could not be denied upon making Schindler's List. A joyful experience for nobody. But, just to make a fun factoid of it, Steven's good friend, the late Robin Williams, called one day at the end of principal photography, nearing the end of it, to cheer him up. By the way, the case here is cracked a bit. So, no 5 claps for this. And as for the non-original tracks, let me show you again. They're marked by asterisks, right here. We have here Jerusalem of Gold by the Ramat Gan Chamber Choir. And we have here Eufen, Private Shock, and Nacht Action. The asterisks indicate that they are indeed non-original. And you see these here? Right. Still, this mostly original soundtrack garnered John Williams his 5th and final Oscar, because why wouldn't it? With that out of the way, let's turn this play to complete 360. And pay a visit to Kennedy Airport for my review of the Terminal soundtrack, starring Tom Hanks and Catherine Zeta-Jones. You have your 14 tracks here, and of course you have liner notes and a complete track listing along with times and crew listing as well, along with several full-color film stills. And, to top it all off, a full listing of the entire orchestra responsible for the performance of John Williams' Terminal soundtrack. Oh, I'm sorry, no track time listings here to report on, but you got liner notes, behind-the-scenes film stills, and a full crew listing, including a listing of all the musicians in the Hollywood Studio Symphony performing the score. Chief among them is the woman clarinetist who performs the main theme for Victor Navorsky in an attempt to get back to his native homeland, which, for the sake of time, I'm not going to pretend or attempt to announce or pronounce. Clarinetist Emily Bernstein performs the main melody, which I will hum for you. Da 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 da. Sing for you to the best of my ability. Steven Spielberg, a former clarinetist himself, insisted that Emily Bernstein be mentioned in the closing credits, providing clarinet solos, because they were so essential to the sound of Victor Navorsky and his attempts to get back home, his attempts to collect jazz autographs from jazz musicians, and his attempts to woo a flight attendant named Catherine Zeta-Jones. I'm sorry, Amelia, who's played by Catherine Zeta-Jones. This really is one of the more feel-good and light-hearted scores of John Williams' career. It's not bombastic like E.T., yet it's gentle and playful and quite grand where it needs to be, like the national anthem for the faux home native land of Victor Navorsky. So I gotta rate this slightly higher. 5 out of 5 claps. And Schindler's List, 4.5 out of 5 claps, because of the imperfection in the back of the case. See? Still, 9.5 out of 10 claps in total. Whether we're traveling to Poland or Germany to remember the Holocaust, or we're at Kennedy Airport trying to find our way back home with a girlfriend, John Williams' music takes us places. And if you happen to find either of these soundtracks for either bargain, 25 or 50% off their sticker prices, all I can say to you is, safe travels. Thanks for watching. Tomorrow's another awesome day, so long as I catch you on the flip side. Until then, stay golden.